I have been waiting to do this for such a long time. If I could personally execute a character from a fiction novel, it would be Ainz Ooal. First, I'm going to start with Ainz' positive traits. So credit where credit is due. Here's the positive traits. Now that we've done that, let's talk about negatives. The biggest detractor to Ainz' value is that he, and Overlord as a whole, exist in a cursed purgatorial void known as the Cancellation Zone. This ninth layer of narrative hell is a frozen waste where I gnaw on the shows and books that stopped mid-run. Because Overlord was cancelled before its completion, none of the characters even have meaningful development and are stuck in their infuriating state of quantum superposition, having both maximal potential and no potential. Overlord as a show feels like an atropal from D&D. It's a stillborn being cursed to a wretched existence of undeath. And, Ainz has the design quality of an atropal. So, But you didn't come here to hear me talk about Overlord as a show. You came here because you got redirected from a video about how digital circus animators are being Mike TV'd into hells of their own making. But please like and sub before leaving. Anyway, Ainz Ooal. Ainz is what happens when the executive use every idea that is suggested after someone says, "There's no such thing as bad ideas." This video will be in two parts. First, Ainz' design that came from the edgiest D&D teen's homebrew necromancer that has death magic and can shoot laser beams out of his butt and kill everyone instantly. And second, his personality. That is a gestalt abomination of every bad character trait ever. See, Overlord does a very, very brave thing where it makes its main character have no positive traits and makes the villains or antagonists have all the positive traits. Yeah, it's a great show. Let's start with Ainz' design. Starting at the head, we can see that he appears like a super goth skeleton with a dish towel on his head. On either side of his head, he has what appear to be two iron bugs with crimson glass orbs for heads. His rib cage seems to lack a sternum for no apparent reason, and for some reason, he has a crimson sphere in his navel. Anyway, all of his casual wear inexplicably leaves his entire chest exposed, which seems like, you might want to cover it up if you're a skeleton. That feels like it'd be a somewhat valuable part. Your rib cage and your weird floating crimson will-o-wisp. He also has two tassels that appear to be attached either to his dish towel hood or to the base of his obnoxiously angular skull. In summary, his design is clutter. To prove my point, let's compare him to another evil wizard, Bellows. I'm planning to do a deep dive on him soon, but today, let's talk about Bellows' design. Bellows' design is extremely simple, but it crucially pulls your eyes to his mask, as all of the details are focused on the top half of his body, and he doesn't have really any ornamentation on the lower half, as it's just sort of like this black, shawl thing. Ainz, on the other hand, lacks this focus in his design. The clutter of his design means that your eyes have nowhere to go. His comically small head and crimson orb that we still have no idea what the hell it does mean that your eyes have literally nowhere to go. You get this weird effect of just looking at him as a whole being, which is sort of overwhelming, and then you also see that, wow, his design is really kind of like trash, and you just deeply hate yourself for watching Overlord. Anyway, before I throw my tablet into a freaking wall because I hate him so much, let's move on. And there's one part of his design I do want to talk about, and that's the mask he wears. Good God, it is the worst looking mask I've ever seen. First, its vibrance does not gel at all with his pretty dark color palette that he usually has. God, it's awful. And it just looks like a pig and a Chinese dragon had a steamy night together, and this would be the face of the ungodly, stillborn abomination that is birthed as a result. So, there is another reason I hate Ainz. His frickin' personality. Oh boy. Ainz has no redeemable qualities at all in his personality. In fact, he has no redeemable qualities in general. He truly is the worst of all worlds. Ainz is a pushover. But worse than just being a pushover, he's a pushover with ridiculous amounts of power. All of his actions are a result of him blindly following the advice of his followers, all because he is worried of disappointing them, despite the fact that they not only are weaker than him, but also blindly follow his every word. In one case, literally programmed to love him unconditionally. So he literally can't disappoint them. And yet he always seems to be acting like he's stepping on eggshells, leaving you with a hollow and agencyless character. It's more than that, though. When he frequently has his plans thwarted by his zealous followers acting in ways that they think he means, he acts like their butchering of his plans was part of his plans. This loop of his followers going against his plans, only for him to thank them, claiming that their disobedience was part of his plan, creates an Ouroboros of stupidity, a Mobius strip of dumb, a perpetual staircase of morons. It's all a loop that feeds back into just the worst personality ever and leaves you with a character who has no character and is just a hollow thing. My second big issue with his personality is that he jumps to genocide and slaughter way too fast. It is hinted that this comes from his body corrupting his consciousness because it's an undead body, so it's like sort of infecting his mind because he's not originally, an undead. But, I mean, he kills and tortures children for doing what he wants. Maybe it's just me, but I prefer when my protagonist doesn't deserve to be dragged in front of the Hague and tried for war crimes. Some might point out that it is unfair, and I shouldn't be so hard on this cowardly war criminal, because as far as he's concerned, Ainz is in a game, so murdering game characters isn't bad. I do it all the time, right? Well, first, why are you defending Ainz? Please don't. He is bad. Please don't defend him. And second, that argument is just wrong and nonsensical. First, he knows he's not in a game because it's shown that the game world isn't the world that they're in based on various facts, like it just not being the world. Second, if you kill thousands of people because they might not be real, I personally don't feel as though that absolves you. In summary, Ainz deserves to stay in his stillborn, half-finished state, so that we can hold him up as a monument to awful character writing, so that we might never, ever make him or a mistake like him again. Essentially, we must learn from our past, or we are doomed to repeat it. And I don't want to waste any more of my frickin' time watching Overlord, or even talking about him. Thank you. Please do like and sub. Have a great day. I will be making the Bellows deep dive, and it will be it'll be a deep dive. Deep dive, if you know what I mean. Thank you. Peace.